My name is Jenn Harris, and this is Real Opinions. Hi, I'm Jenn Harris. I am a director, writer, producer, actor, and I currently live in San Diego, California, in the United States.
How long have you been active in the industry?
I've been active in the industry since I graduated college at Boston University from their acting program. And I moved to New York, so that would have been 2000. And I've been acting ever since. And then I started writing. I'd always kind of been writing, but and producing actually. But I then started writing, directing, and producing a couple years later, slowly, with like the downtown New York scene, performance artist scene, and then putting up plays, putting up shows. And then in 2015, me and two of my friends made our first web series, New York is Dead. And so that was the first time I delved. That's the first time I delved into other aspects of filmmaking.
What's the best piece of advice you've been given?
The best piece of advice that I've been given is it's not your business what other people think of you. Yeah, I remember Craig Bierko told me that, an actor, Craig Bierko. He was in the film Cinderella Man and many other things. And I did a play with him, one of my first plays in New York. And I was asking him, and I was acting in the play, and I was asking him, along with Jason Biggs and Molly Ringwald. It was a great first experience in a play. And I was so green, and I had heard like, oh, reviews are coming out. You know, this is what they do. They review. And I said to him, should I read them? Like, what should I read the reviews? What do I do? And he said, I think you'll be fine. You can read them, but remember, it's not your business what other people think about you. And that made so much sense to me. And since then, I'm like, yeah, it's not really my business what other people think about me. Sometimes I have to remind myself of that.
Yeah, but I feel like that needs to be emblazoned on, like, you know, the cross stitch above the door.
I mean, I could get it tattooed right here.
Yeah.
It's not my business what you think of me. I don't know how approachable that is, but it's an internal.
What was the play?
It was called Modern Orthodox. It was written by Daniel Goldfarb, and James Lapine directed it, who originally directed Into the Woods and many other things. So I had a pretty special first off-Broadway play in New York experience. Very lucky.
Nice. And on the flip side, what's the worst piece of advice you've been told?
The worst piece of advice that I have been told, hurry up. I didn't think about that till now. Hurry up. That has never served me. And maybe because I'm like a speedy Aquarius and I'm like, boom, 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 boom. I'm super organized and like get things done. And I love like anxiety. I'll just start cleaning and organizing and creating something to like fit that I have to refit. You know, whether that be a puzzle or something less juvenile, I guess, but yet effective. But yeah, hurry up has never served me particularly.
I suppose it's weirdly quite cutting, because it's basically, it feels negative to begin with.
It does feel negative, and it has an implication that I'm behind. It has an implication that I'm already behind. And that's directly goes into my self-esteem. And I can't, anything I'm going to push forward and hurry up and do is going to be messy and shouldn't be done or put out, or something's going to get broke.
Is there a place or a location that you've always wanted to make a film?
I had always wanted to shoot something in a bathroom. And then I did that. That was sort of like the giant impetus of my last short film, She's Clean. But I would love to shoot something in my hometown in Illinois, Plano, Illinois. I think because of the nostalgia, but there's something cinematic about the cornfields and the bean fields and the plains in the Midwest that, of course, has been captured. on film, but I would love to capture it like beautifully and comically, like comedic beauty. I would really love to sort of mesh the comedy and the landscape of the Midwest.
I always think like, your hometown as well.
Yeah.
Like, every inch of it. Like you can walk around and and I think when you're from a creative background as well, you're probably already like forming scenes, stories, characters.
Yeah.
And hands down, it's always going to be based on people that that live there, because
Right.
it's imbued in it. Like you can't avoid.
Yeah. Something about Plano, Illinois is desperately cinematic.
I love it.
It's its own antithesis, I guess.
Tell us about one of your favorite festival experiences.
Well, I fortunately was able to premiere my web series New York is Dead at the Tribeca Film Festival back in 2017. Oh God, back in 2017, 15. Oh Lord. Anyway, the Tribeca Film Festival. It was in my hometown. I lived in New York then. I lived in New York for 20 years. I moved to San Diego during the pandemic. And it was really special to get to have my whole crew and most of the cast come and sit in that Regal Cinema down the bottom of Manhattan and sit back and watch this giant screen and just see Better Work Productions, which is my company's name, come up and everybody cheer. It just was really, really fun and something that I didn't expect would ever happen, is that we would all get to make something. Then me and my cast and crew would all get to sit in a big theater with a whole bunch of strangers and watch something we made. It felt almost like a sporting event, the collaborative sporting event of filmmaking and viewing. It was great. It was really great. It was a great experience. Felt special.
Who or what is your inspiration, and has this changed?
It's always been my friends. My inspiration has always been my friends. I think the smartest thing I can say about myself, the smartest thing about me is I keep myself surrounded by people who know more than me. I keep myself surrounded by people who are really smart and really funny and are really gods in their craft. I mean, my friends are some of the funniest people, some of the most creative people that I know. And when they're talking about what they're making or what they've been doing or writing or performing, I always get inspiration from my friends. I think my friends are also the most inspiring people to me because it's the most vulnerable connection that I have to the creative world. It's a direct line to not only really inspirational work, but also there's a vulnerable dialogue between whatever 2, 3, 4, 5 of us that we're having. And I'm a very verbal processing, emotional creature, and my friends are as well, or they respect that. And just the vulnerable dialogue that we have amongst each other is, it's an inspiration. When you feel seen and heard, and when you can talk about how you feel about something, when I can talk about how I feel about something, then I can translate it better.
No, I think it's true. I think when you work in a creative industry and you also have friends that are along the same path as you kind of have that, you have that safe space to fail, or even just have someone check you before you make a mistake. And I think some people can kind of see that as competition, but I kind of see it as like, you're constantly collaborating anyway. Even if, someone writes a joke and you laugh at it, that's collaboration because you've kind of confirmed they're on the right path. If you get someone to check over a script or, do a table read, I think that's just all part of the process.
I don't feel jealousy, and I don't know why. I think I've always, like I said, I love being in a room with people that I gotta kind of catch up to in the not hurry, but I love being in a room with people who are inspiring me. I don't like feeling like the smartest or the funniest in the room. I don't like that. I don't like feeling like I know everything and I have to teach. I don't like that. I prefer joining the room. I prefer stepping up to the creativity that's presented in front of me, or that we're talking about, or that we're discussing. And also my friends we're all so different. I can't imagine comparing myself to one of my friends. Yeah.
What do you want people to feel like when they've watched your work?
I always want them to feel like they've had fun. I definitely always want to make the room laugh at some point, depending on what project, if it's all the time or if it's at some point in the film. Humor is my favorite thing. And I want people to be able to laugh, but laugh in recognition. I prefer to try to make the most people in the room laugh rather than stick to like one person, place, or thing. I would really like the majority of the people in the room to laugh. And in order to laugh, you have to relate. And to relate, you have to feel seen. And so I hope that when people watch my work, they can relate to something. And that might be silly, that might be deep and dark. I mean, depending on what it is that I'm making or presenting, humor. Things are funny because they're true, right? That's what Carrie Fisher said. It's only funny because it's true. My life wouldn't be as funny if it wasn't so true, or it wasn't true. And I think, some of the darkest moments are some of the funniest. If you can find that, one can get oneself in one's place. And that's in a shared experience, right? That's feeling supported in communion with either myself or the audience or your friends or your collaborators.
And what about specifically She's Clean?
What do I want the audience to feel?
Yeah. Because I think it's, I mean, we've had obviously long conversations about this before. It's a very particular type of film. And I think it's a brilliant celebration of femininity and agency of one's body. But, what do you want people to feel once they've watched She's Clean?
I would like people to examine their own intimacy, to be able to leave my film and check in with their own intimacy and their feelings about their intimate self, because it's so complex. It's not black and white. And whenever I've seen intimacy portrayed on screen or stage, it's just too shallow. It's too one-dimensional. And I know that in filmmaking, we are dealing with something that is a one-dimensional creative form, but there was something that was just more complex to me about intimacy, about what I felt about myself, and listening to my friends talk about whether they're married, single, asexual, queer, divorced, but whatever their sexual their intimate relationships are, with their family, with their work, with their environment. So not just people, but what they felt about their intimate self was just way more complex. And sometimes you can't say that in words. Sometimes it's just a feeling. And I think specifically in my film, I stuck to the intimacy between a woman and the men that she is specifically dating, and how it's just not as black and white as like, I like you, I don't, we're being intimate, we're not. It's the most vulnerable state that I think a person can be in, is in an intimate state. And I think it's worth attempting to show that it's deeper than what we're offered in a lot of books and films and language. And hopefully I'm starting to be able to dig a little bit and have people question their own forms and practice of intimacy for themselves.
Do you watch your own work when it's being screened?
Yes, I do. At this point, 23 years of being an actor and having to edit. And of course, now we self-tape and for auditions. And I've been watching myself because I've had to for 2 decades now. I'm just so used to seeing myself. I don't see myself. I see the character that I'm playing.
Yeah, some people kind of can't. They just physically can't watch their own work, and that might be if they're actually I think DOP is a little bit more kind of flexible, but
yeah,
some directors, some actors, they're just like, I can't, like, I have to physically remove myself from it, which I always find quite interesting.
Yeah, I do understand that, like internally, aesthetically, I understand that. I think because for me, knowing the craft and practicing the craft from all aspects, from production to acting to directing to writing, and then watching it all put together is interesting to me. That's its own, and sitting with an audience specifically and getting to feel what they feel and hear their reactions to it. First of all, I want to know like what works, what didn't, what are they responding to, what not. And also, for me, I don't make art to like, I don't sit in front of a mirror to make art, or I don't make it, I make it because I'm a people person. I'm a collaborator. I like people. I like audiences. I like art. I like sharing it. I like big rooms. I like concerts. I like being surrounded by a lot of people. And so for me to make something and then not get to enjoy it with an audience, that's the reason I'm making something.
What makes you want to see a film?
Well, maybe if there's a really great actor in it that I love, Olivia Colman. I just saw Empire of Light last night. She breaks my heart in all the good ways. A great director. I also like to see a film if it's got a lot of great hype behind it. I'm a person who I want to know, what are we doing? What are we watching? What are we looking at? I definitely form my own opinions about stuff and disagree with the zeitgeist of what's in or out. I do feel rooted in my own autonomy of how I consume, but I really, I'm also like down with what are we doing? What are we watching? What are we into?
If you were not working in film, what would you be doing instead?
Well, I don't think that I can say teaching, because I do teach as well. I taught at ATA for years in New York, and I teach at USD here in San Diego. So I would say that, but what when I do,
you can say whatever you want.
Okay. Okay. If I had the talent to like do the thing, I think I would love to be like a professional surfer. I do not have the talent to do that, but I would love that. I would really, really love that. And at the same time, I also think that I would love to like run a company, like run like a really great non-for-profit that has a lot of money coming in that I don't have to worry about. I don't think non-for-profits do. Clearly, I don't know enough about it to engage, but I do think I would love to run like a real conscious, socially conscious company. I think I would really like that.
You could combine the two and be a professional surfer,
right?
A non-profit company.
Maybe like the surfing is getting the money. Come watch me surf.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
Do you collect anything?
I don't. I'm kind of a minimalist. I would say, if I was to say I collect anything, I did before the pandemic, but a decent Barbie collection, because I used to perform downtown at Joe's Pub in New York at a show called Our Hit Parade that meant a lot to me. But I performed a lot with Barbies, and I did a one-woman show with my Barbies, and I did a lot of performance art with my Barbies. I have 2 music videos I did with my Barbies. One for Girls Like Us for the Julie Ruin, which was amazing anyway, but and another one for Rob Townsend and his video Skinny Boys. So I made some videos with Barbies, and I would say I've kept, when I moved out here, I had to get rid of a couple 100 Barbies. So I guess Barbies.
Like, what's the highest number of Barbies that you have owned? Like, include like at any one point, what's the highest number?
Probably about 100 Barbies. Probably. Yeah. All different kinds. Yeah. All different kinds of Barbies and Kens. And, but I really love like Barbie and the whole there's something about it that you can use like it's a direct line. For me, it's a direct line to feminism that can be positively linked in any way, shape, or form, with irony, with humor, with irony, and with like the pure aesthetic of Barbie. You can twist it on its head. Literally, you can also twist her head around. So there's just it's such a direct line for me to feminism is Barbie.
I was telling you, I keep finding out stuff about my clients, and I 100 Barbies. That's I think every little girl probably would have dreamed about owning 2 Barbies when they were younger.
Yeah, when I was little, I didn't have, we had them, but yeah, when I got, definitely. And some of them are the cheap plastic kind, and some are the super expensive, I don't know, the old school Barbies, that like my mom owned. And then when I started making Barbie art and performing with Barbies, I just kept collecting, and people would send them to me, and I'd have clothes and some of the Corvette and the Hart family house. And it's really fun. Barbies are really fun. Yeah, definitely love them.
If you were stuck on a desert island, what one film would you take?
If I was stuck on a desert island and I had one film to take with me, it would be The Bodyguard. Hear me out. You have Kevin Costner, you have Whitney Houston. Okay, we're done already. We're done already. You have the best soundtrack. You have the best soundtrack ever. You have music videos being made. You have her at the club. You have, I'm not condoning, but you have like stalker energy to, you have Kevin Costner, you have the dancing, you have Dolly Parton's song that they're dancing to. You have a sword. You have Kevin Costner running after someone to save Whitney Houston. That's all I want. That's all I want is Kevin Costner running after someone in order to save me. It's fine. I know how hand to mouth that is. I know how black and white that is. I'm totally fine with it. And you have the woods afterwards. You have them in the snow. It's a winter movie. It's chasing. Oh God, I love The Bodyguard. I love The Bodyguard. I love it.
That is the most comprehensive answer I've ever been given for that question. You've made me want to watch The Bodyguard.
Have you never seen The Bodyguard?
No, I've seen it, but I haven't seen it for years.
Honey.
How many times have you seen it, do you reckon?
I watch it every year. I'll watch it again with people and I don't rewatch movies. I'm not a person who rewatches movies. I'm like, I've got too many to see. I haven't seen this. I don't rewatch movies. I will rewatch Jaws in the summer because why not? But I will watch The Bodyguard almost around the holidays. I love watching The Bodyguard. Yeah, I've seen it. Oh God, probably 40 times, maybe 40. I love it.
Can you quote it word for word?
The whole thing. Don't worry about it. I got it. The whole thing. I can, but I also do the shots. I know all the shots. And so I'll watch The Bodyguard and be like, okay, now they're going to dolly down. She's in order for the shot where they're running in the woods and he's chasing and he has to go run after the person. I'm like, okay, so now he's going to jump off the woods to go and try to get the car and he's going to do a roll. So they're going to, so the camera is going to start right here. It's going to be a high shot looking down. And then when he jumps over, it's going to be low looking up and he's going to roll past the camera. I know the shots that they do. And oh, get ready. It's black. And I'm like, now we're going to be in the locker. And we're in the stalker guy's locker. And he opens the door and you see his face and all the paraphernalia of Whitney Houston's gloves and her clothes and her sequins that he took from a concert hanging up. And I'm like, okay. I was like, next he's going to open the locker. And so I know, I'm like, it's just crazy. Or the wide shot too of her, why I'm forgetting this actress's name, I don't know. But Whitney Houston, the woman who plays her sister, outside the cabin, and it's a big wide shot when they start singing Jesus Loves Me. It's so good.
Oh, that is amazing. I feel like everyone who watches this now is going to be like, I have to watch The Bodyguard.
Go watch Bodyguard. Go watch Bodyguard. It's just like a perfect film. You know, it's easy, it's fun, it's really good.
I will say I'm not a massive fan of rom-coms, and this isn't a comedy per se, but in terms of like, it's a romance film with an edge, because it kind of has that thriller-esque part to it in terms of like the stalker and the kind of, there's some horrendous moments in it in terms of
Horrendous moments.
Yeah.
And there's like a hint of camp in it.
Yeah.
Which I fully appreciate.
Yeah.
And some of the lines, like some of Kevin Costner's lines are like ridiculous, just in that, like, what, 1990s way. 1990, what was it, like 2, I think it came out, or 4, 1992. Those ridiculous lines, those 90s lines are just like, oh, please. But it is just it's so fun.
It's giving.
It's got a little ounce of camp. It's great.